In fact, Chen Mingsheng during his student years was much more lively than he is now. Chen Mingsheng was never a good student. He didn't like to read, nor to memorize. But due to family reasons, Chen Mingsheng goofed around for more than a decade, but finally made an effort to get into the Qinghai Police Academy. The military and police academies are places that most people don't know much about. Many families who don't know about them consider them as a fallback option for their sons who have nowhere else to go. What they don't know is that the chance of a total newbie with no family connections getting admitted to such institutions is very slim. But Chen Mingsheng was different. From the time Chen Mingsheng had a vague memory, when he was still a little oblivious, his mother had told him countless times that he should join the police academy when he grew up and become a police officer. Gradually, Chen Mingsheng realized that if he followed his mother's wishes, she would be very lax about the other aspects of his life. So when he was very small, he would often make his mother happy by saying that he definitely wanted to join the police academy when he grew up. As he kept saying it, he himself remembered it firmly. Chen Mingsheng had never met his father, and later heard that his dad had died in the line of duty while his mother was pregnant with him. His mother had never remarried. He would often see her sitting in the small living room late at night, staring at a photo of his father on a small wooden frame hung on the living room wall, seemingly lost in thought. Chen Mingsheng also often looked at the photo, but his feelings toward it were completely different from his mother's. Chen Mingsheng was more filled with curiosity and confusion. Every time his father's death anniversary came, his mother would repeatedly say the same sentence that she named him Mingsheng to make him remember this day for a lifetime. So that date, that stretch of history, although unclear, was truly memorized by Chen Mingsheng for a lifetime. His family was not wealthy. When he was little, his mother worked as a worker in a textile factory, which was very arduous. Chen Mingsheng became sensible at a young age, looking after the home and cooking by himself, waiting for his mother to return. In this way, day by day, year after year, he gradually grew up. He became much taller, and his looks more and more resembled his father's. His mother often looked at his face in a daze, then continued to tell him, "You have to be a policeman." If something is said once or twice, it's a reminder. 3 or 4 times, it's an exhortation. But when it's repeated countless times, it becomes a torment. At that time, Chen Mingsheng had just started high school and was in his rebellious phase. When he felt nagged by his mom at home, he would skip school and run wild outside. His high school wasn't a good one, filled with an air of gloom. Basically, there weren't many students who seriously studied, and Chen Mingsheng was considered a leader among them in such a simple place. The reason for being a leader was also simple because Chen Mingsheng was one of the tallest and strongest among the boys, and was temperamental, daring, and fun-loving. With these factors in a third-rate high school, it would definitely make for an attractive headline. So Chen Mingsheng led a group of younger brothers, skipping school, smoking, and flirting with girls. Back then, he was young and had no outlook for the future. Chen Mingsheng always thought he would live like this for a lifetime. The police academy, and being a policeman, seemed so far away from him then. What truly interrupted his life was an event that almost drove him to the brink. After repeated arguments with his mother, and yelling at her that if she wanted him to go to the police academy so badly, she should go herself, his mother attempted suicide. She took the picture of Chen Mingsheng's father out of the frame, placed it in her clothes, tied a scarf around her neck in the small living room of their home. When Chen Mingsheng got home and pushed the door open, he saw that scene and his heart almost stopped. Luckily, he got home early that day and managed to save his mother in the nick of time. At the hospital, when his mother woke up, Chen Mingsheng sat by her bed and only said one sentence, "Mom, I will definitely go to the police academy. I will definitely become a policeman, I swear on my life." His mother glanced at him, then turned her head and stared blankly at the ceiling. Since then, Chen Mingsheng studied hard as if his life depended on it. He was in his second year of high school, and the college entrance examination was a year away. He spent both day and night doing exercises, math, literature, physics, and chemistry. Even psychological tests from police academies of several years were repeated countless times. That year, many people applied for the Qinghai Police Academy for the college entrance examination. A lot of parents accompanied their children for the psychological and physical tests, but Chen Mingsheng went alone. After the day of the psychological test ended smoothly, Chen Mingsheng basically let go of his concerns. What was left was a physical test. The test at the police academy didn't include many items, only 4 in total. Chen Mingsheng had looked it up countless times and could literally recite the items and requirements off by heart. 50-meter sprint, time requirement of within 7 seconds. 1,000-meter run, time requirement of 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Push-ups, complete at least 6 times within 10 seconds. Lastly, the standing long jump, requirement of 2 meters 3. Chen Mingsheng had tried these tests himself once and found them basically a piece of cake. He was not worried at all. As a result of this relaxation, he overslept on the day of the physical fitness test. The test site was far from his home, so when he was preparing for the test, Chen Mingsheng's mother gave him money to stay at a hotel outside. He didn't have a mobile phone at the time, and no one called him up, so he had to rely on his own internal clock. It was too late for him to catch a bus, so he took a shortcut and ran nearly 2 kilometers to make it to the test site at the last minute. After completing the run, Chen Mingsheng was exhausted to the point of coughing up blood. His first test was a 50-meter sprint, and when the whistle sounded, he dug his foot into the ground and his front leg buckled, almost bringing him to his knees. In the end, he made it through all the tests along the pass line. Among those candidates, Chen Mingsheng's physical test scores were at the very bottom, but since he passed, it didn't matter. In retrospect, Chen Mingsheng felt that his lack of enthusiasm for reading or studying was all due to the impending college entrance examination. He worked day and night, persevering for over a year, and finally got his wish. He was admitted to the Qinghai Police Academy and would be studying criminal investigation. On the day the admission notice came out, his mother cried tears of joy. However, Chen Mingsheng didn't feel particularly thrilled. He held the thin envelope in his hand, feeling a bit odd. You see, before this, when Chen Mingsheng was fooling around with the school's other troublemakers, he never thought he would go to college, let alone achieve the wish he'd been repeating to himself since childhood, yet had never truly comprehended that it had actually come true. He was really going to become a policeman. August 24th, Chen Mingsheng clearly remembered that day when he went to the school to register. He dressed very simply that day, a vest, a pair of trousers, a sun cap on his head, and a dark blue backpack on his back. He brought very few things with him. All his clothes and necessities were stuffed into this backpack. Having graduated from high school, Chen Mingsheng had grown to a height of 182 centimeters, but he still carried a touch of youthfulness. When he stood at the school gate, it was noon. The blazing sun hung in the sky, baking the ground hot. On the registration day, there were many people at the gate, mostly parents dropping off their children. Chen Mingsheng, with his backpack on, stood alone at the gate, looking at the sign with the school's name on it. He stood there for quite a while, then rummaged through his pocket for a piece of chewing gum, put it in his mouth, chewed a bit, and walked into the campus. August 24th, this day, marked the dividing line in Chen Mingsheng's life. It marked the separation between confusion and determination, the separation between evasion and confrontation, the separation between boy and man. Here he met the person who had the greatest influence on him in his life. That person was Yan Zhengtao. Yan Zhengtao was a professional teacher in the criminal investigation department. Chen Mingsheng's initial encounter with him was not exactly pleasant. That was during military training. The boys were herded into a building, lining up to get their hair shaved and clothes issued. The barber was quite skilled, probably because he had shaved too many heads. Each head was no longer a head in his eyes, but a fresh cob of corn waiting to be shucked. When it was Chen Mingsheng's turn, he sat down on the stool and listened to the buzzing of the clippers, then his hair fell onto his shoulder. After the shave, the old barber patted his head and said, "There are hair clippings, go outside and rinse your head." Chen Mingsheng went outside where there was a sink with 5 or 6 faucets, and several people were also rinsing their heads. It was summer and the weather was hot. And boys weren't so particular. They rinsed off and got more than half of their bodies wet, which was quite refreshing. After he finished rinsing, Chen Mingsheng went back into the building and looked at his reflection in the mirror at the entrance. He had never had such short hair before. Looking at it for the first time, he didn't like it. He felt it looked a bit goofy. What he didn't know was that this somewhat goofy-looking hairstyle would be with him for almost his entire life. Their training uniform was a bit different from other schools. It wasn't green camouflage, but black. Pure black shorts, sleeve top, trousers, cap without any pattern. Chen Mingsheng was quite satisfied with this uniform. He thought he looked very sharp in it. However, his sharp look didn't last long as several days of high-intensity training began. At the beginning, the whole dormitory would howl and wail after each day's training. Later, they didn't even have the energy to cry out, returning to sleep as soon as they got back. The military training was completely isolated. Chen Mingsheng didn't have a phone to begin with, and now he didn't even have a magazine. They were not allowed to buy snacks, visit each other's dorms, play cards, have meals together or chat. All these activities were prohibited, making their days quite mundane. The opportunity for entertainment came one afternoon. After finishing their morning training and lunch, it was nap time, and everyone was lying on their beds. In reality, they were all young men, full of energy, and few could actually fall asleep. But if they didn't sleep, what else was there to do? There was nothing else to do. Chen Mingsheng lay on his bed, staring blankly at the wooden board of the upper bunk, and started to think that the police academy was not that interesting. Just then, he heard a hawking sound. The sound was very faint and could be easily missed if there was a little noise. Chen Mingsheng sat up and asked everyone to be quiet. "Did you hear that?" he asked. One of his roommates asked, "Hear what?" Chen Mingsheng said, "Listen carefully." Everyone held their breaths and listened intently. All 8 people in the room sat up looking like lunatics, their ears pointed toward the window, trying to discern the sound. Finally, they heard a voice, "Selling watermelons, big and sweet watermelons." Selling watermelons, is this something big? No. But they were so bored that even a watermelon seller could excite everyone in the room. "There's someone selling watermelons." "Watermelons. There's someone selling watermelons." Chen Mingsheng asked, "Want to eat?" The others vigorously nodded their heads. One of them said, "We're not allowed to go out though. What's the point in wanting to eat?" Chen Mingsheng asked, "Really want to eat?" The person in the opposite bed frowned and said, "Chen Mingsheng, you're not planning to go out and buy some, are you? You'd be done for if you got caught." Chen Mingsheng gave him an impatient glance. "With that little courage, what kind of cop do you think you can be?" The man shrunk back when he was scolded. "Chen Mingsheng, I remember when the bus brought us for training, I saw a watermelon field outside." Chen Mingsheng perked up. "What? There's a watermelon field?" The man nodded. Chen Mingsheng fell into thought. In the end, they discussed till the afternoon training and didn't come to any conclusion. Chen Mingsheng left them with a phrase, "Just wait and see." That evening, under the intense gaze of the other 7 men, Chen Mingsheng like a warrior jumped out of the window. They lived on the first floor, and there was an old guard at the entrance of the building who couldn't be disturbed, so Chen Mingsheng decided to go through the window. Dressed in his training uniform and cap, with his face covered, he slid down to the back of the wall. With a light hop, he reached the top of the wall. Damn it! The moment his hands touched the wall, he let go. He muttered a curse, then looked at his hands. Both of them had been pricked and were bleeding. There was broken glass on the wall, and Chen Mingsheng had failed to notice it in the dark. Not discouraged by the setback, he followed the wall and unexpectedly discovered a gap. He looked left and right, then squeezed through the gap. The crack was quite narrow, and Chen Mingsheng almost got stuck. After emerging from the gap, he instantly felt a sense of freedom. He took several breaths of the night air, feeling extraordinarily refreshed. Chen Mingsheng quickly stole 2 watermelons from a field. He ended up being too greedy and picked 2 large ones, holding one in each hand as he headed back. When he got back to the gap, he sidestepped to go in. That's when the accident happened. He held the watermelon between his chest and his palms. While squeezing through the hole, everything went smoothly at first. But then he found the right angle, and he got stuck. By that time, he couldn't even drop the watermelons, or the friction between his hand and the wall would cause a severe pain. Just as it was raining on his parade, Yan Zhengtao came along. Ordinarily, Yan Zhengtao wouldn't be in such a remote place at this hour, but coincidentally, after checking the rooms, he came out of the building and suddenly needed to pee. As luck would have it, he was too lazy to go back to the building's restroom and planned to water the wild grass near the wall. Inevitably, he found Chen Mingsheng. Their meeting couldn't have been more awkward. When Yan Zhengtao saw the escaping student, his first reaction was not to reprimand, but to zip up his trousers. He coughed, sauntered over to Chen Mingsheng, looked him up and down, and asked, "What's the situation here?" At this point, Chen Mingsheng had nothing to lose, so he confessed, "I'm stuck." Yan Zhengtao laughed. He'd never seen a student in such a predicament before. "Which class are you in?" he asked. "Class 3, replied Chen Mingsheng. "Ah, so you're one of my students," Yan Zhengtao remarked. "Yes, instructor. Can you give me a hand to get out?" Chen Mingsheng pleaded. "A tool," he said. Eventually, Yan Zhengtao brought a pickaxe and helped Chen Mingsheng out. After being freed, Chen Mingsheng thanked Yan Zhengtao and stood obediently. While Yan Zhengtao was fetching the pickaxe, he had the opportunity to relieve himself and then leisurely began his lecture. He stared at Chen Mingsheng and said, "After all this, haven't you forgotten to drop these 2 melons?" Chen Mingsheng stood in front of Yan Zhengtao, stood up straight, solemn in his expression. Looking down, he opened both palms, a melon in each hand. Yan Zhengtao said, "If you love these 2 melons so much, why don't you run laps with them?" Chen Mingsheng didn't utter a word. He hugged the melons and marched towards the field. "Come back." To his surprise, Yan Zhengtao didn't expect the student to really go. He called him back, came up to him and said, "Are you really going to run?" Chen Mingsheng had been avoiding eye contact. When he heard Yan Zhengtao's question, he took a quick side glance at him and then immediately turned back, saying, "Instructor, how are you going to punish me?" Yan Zhengtao asked, "How do you think I should punish you?" Chen Mingsheng replied, "Anything goes as long as you don't notify my parents." After finishing his sentence, he glanced at Yan Zhengtao and said, "I'll go run laps." Yan Zhengtao asked, "How many laps are you going to run?" Chen Mingsheng answered, "I'll run as many laps as you ask me to." Nodding, Yan Zhengtao casually said, "Then start with 10 laps." So Chen Mingsheng ran a full 10 laps on the dark field, hugging the melons. Yan Zhengtao watched from a distance, witnessing the young trainee run in silence. After finishing his run, Chen Mingsheng was soaked in sweat, still holding the watermelons. Suddenly, Yan Zhengtao noticed blood on the melons. His expression became serious. "What happened?" Chen Mingsheng loudly replied, "It's nothing." Yan Zhengtao demanded, "Show me your hands." Finally putting down the watermelons, Chen Mingsheng extended his hands. The original wounds were now worse, with a layer of skin rubbed off from his palm. Upon seeing the wound, Yan Zhengtao quickly understood. He stared at Chen Mingsheng in shock. "You, this student?" He frowned, barked, "Come with me." Yan Zhengtao led Chen Mingsheng to the medical room to clean his wounds. From start to finish, Chen Mingsheng only said one thing to Yan Zhengtao, "So you're not going to notify my parents, right?" Yan Zhengtao pointed at Chen Mingsheng and said, "So you were stealing watermelons, huh? And you're still studying to be a cop, aren't you embarrassed? You might as well become a hoodlum." Chen Mingsheng remained silent. Yan Zhengtao looked down at the bandaged hands, then at the sweaty student standing in front of him. He suddenly laughed. He thought that this night was rather interesting. In this student, he saw youth, mischief, but also determination. He asked, "What's your name?" Chen Mingsheng gave him a look and said, "My name is Chen Mingsheng." That time, Yan Zhengtao didn't tell anyone about what happened. He even allowed Chen Mingsheng to take the watermelons back. At first, Chen Mingsheng thought Yan Zhengtao was a strange man. But later, he gradually came to respect Yan Zhengtao's professional abilities. He used to fear nothing, but in front of Yan Zhengtao, he felt like a novice. Yan Zhengtao, consciously or not, looked out for him. Yan Zhengtao was a local resident. Sometimes during holidays, he would even invite Chen Mingsheng over for meals. Over the course of 3 years, Yan Zhengtao was no longer like a teacher, nor an instructor, but more like a family member. Like a father. During Chen Mingsheng's senior year, Yan Zhengtao was about to resign. When Chen Mingsheng learned about this, he went to Yan Zhengtao, who told him that he was moving to another place. "Where are you going? Do I need to report to you where I'm going? Have you lost respect for your superiors?" Yan Zhengtao ignored him. Chen Mingsheng said, "I'll go with you." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Yan Zhengtao said. "Do you want to drop out of school? Stay and study. What could you do if you dropped out now?" Chen Mingsheng replied, "You don't need to worry about what I can do. If you leave, I leave." Yan Zhengtao looked at Chen Mingsheng. Over the 4 years, he had changed a lot. Most notably, his body and his gaze. He no longer had a somewhat skinny physique, but was robust, with strong legs and strong arms. His skin had darkened due to daily training, and the contours of his face had become more pronounced. He was no longer the boy who was caught stealing watermelons during military training. After 3 years of tempering, he had grown into a man. Yan Zhengtao knew that, even if he didn't permit it, Chen Mingsheng would surely follow him. He told Chen Mingsheng, "You go back first, I'll inform you in a few days." Yan Zhengtao was considering. If there was something Chen Mingsheng could do if he dropped out of school, there was indeed something he could do. But was he really going to let him do it? 3 days later, Yan Zhengtao called Chen Mingsheng into his office and spoke to him, allowing Chen Mingsheng to make his own decision. Without hesitation, Chen Mingsheng immediately agreed. Do you know how much pressure you will face? Yan Zhengtao asked. Chen Mingsheng answered, I know. Yan Zhengtao suggested he go back and think it over again. The next day, Chen Mingsheng returned with the answer that Yan Zhengtao had fully expected. Yan Zhengtao said, once you've made your decision, I can give you time, give you freedom for you to consider thoroughly. But once you've decided, I won't allow you to back out. So, will you do it or not? Chen Mingsheng smiled at Yan Zhengtao, a somewhat cheeky smile, and Yan Zhengtao seemed to see the boy from years ago. The daring, determined boy. All right, I'll handle your paperwork tomorrow. You'll need to attend a simple training course. And then Yan Zhengtao stood up from his seat and said to Chen Mingsheng, I'll wait for you in Yunnan. Chen Mingsheng said, okay. That year, he was 23 years old. He underwent a period of training and then reported to Yan Zhengtao. Instead of putting him straight to work, Yan Zhengtao took him to gain some experience first. Fortunately, during that time, a task that originally required lots of manpower was solved by a police team, so Chen Mingsheng stayed to work with Yan Zhengtao. Just when he had almost forgotten Yan Zhengtao's initial words, the mission came down. That was almost 2 years later. He was assigned a task to infiltrate a drug trafficking gang. The boss's name was Mingsheng. Originally, the plan devised by the police was for Chen Mingsheng to pose as a customer buying drugs, luring them in, starting with the minor dealers in Chinese we say following the vine to get to the melon. But this plan later deviated, because of a trip that Chen Mingsheng took. It was a reward from Yan Zhengtao. Before the mission, he paid for Chen Mingsheng to have a bit of leisure time. When asked where he'd like to go, Chen Mingsheng, who was at that moment taking a midday nap on his bed, responded to Yan Zhengtao's question by turning his head, pointing at a picture hanging on the wall and asking, what place is this? Yan Zhengtao answered, are you illiterate? Isn't it written beside it? With a sideways glance, Chen Mingsheng saw the 4 characters next to the picture Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. He replied, I'll go there. At that time, tourism in Yunnan was not as developed as it is now, and there weren't so many people either. Chen Mingsheng, all on his own and with a backpack, traveled through Dali, Lijiang, and Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. But at the foot of the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, he encountered an incident. It was noon, and he was eating at a local guest house. A canopy was set up outside the guest house, just like a street stall, and while eating, one could look up and see the snow mountain. Chen Mingsheng was enjoying his meal when he heard a bang behind him. A beer bottle had been smashed. With the sound, Chen Mingsheng knew that this wasn't an accidental break, it must have been smashed intentionally. He turned his head and saw 4 to 5 people outside the guest house, a guy in the front holding a beer bottle and pointing at a person. Chen Mingsheng then looked at the person being pointed at, a middle-aged man dressed casually, obviously a tourist. There was a little girl by his side, presumably his daughter. Possibly fearing she'd be frightened, the man pushed her into the guest house, standing outside alone. The group of men seemed to be targeting him and were about to smash the bottle at him. Hey, Chen Mingsheng called out. The group of people turned towards him. Taking a quick look, the leader asked, who are you? Chen Mingsheng stirred the noodles in his bowl with his chopsticks and said, the man's kid is inside and you guys are just going to go at him? The man sneered, who the hell are you? Why are you poking your nose in where it doesn't belong? Chen Mingsheng replied, it's broad daylight, aren't you afraid someone's going to call the police? Call the police. The man didn't say anything else, but flung the beer bottle at Chen Mingsheng. Chen Mingsheng quickly moved aside to dodge. The bottle hit the ground, smashed into pieces. Want to call the police? He pointed at Chen Mingsheng and said, keep messing around and we'll beat you as well. Chen Mingsheng looked at him, suddenly laughed a little, and asked, you think you're pretty tough, huh? The man retorted, what of it? Chen Mingsheng lowered his head, quieted down. He scratched the back of his neck. In a split second, when no one was reacting, he suddenly picked up the noodle bowl from the table and hurled it towards the man. The noodles had just come out of the pot and were piping hot. The man was scalded and yelped like a slaughtered pig. The others saw this, each uttering an expletive, and charged straight at Chen Mingsheng. Chen Mingsheng ran to the corner of the guest house where the trash was piled up, then picked up a mop, held it up by both ends, and stomped on the middle of it with force. The mop broke into 2, and Chen Mingsheng picked up the upper half, turning around and started fighting. Goodness, they're fighting. People are fighting up front. There's a fight at the restaurant entrance. Not far away by a small lake, a group of people were taking photos to commemorate the occasion. They were gathered around something, pointing and commenting. Doesn't really look like it, Tiesk, not at all. Hearing that a fight was breaking out and there was a spectacle to watch, the crowd dispersed all at once. Only one person was left, the person who had just been pointed at and discussed. It was a young girl. She was doing her holiday homework. She was sitting on a small stool, working on a canvas in front of her, with a massive suitcase on her side. Right in front of her was a towering snow mountain. Although the reality was a clear blue sky, pure white snow, and vibrant green lake, in her painting it was a burning color. Golden, vivid, as if about to burst into flames. The mountain in the painting and the mountain outside existed in two entirely different worlds. No wonder people said it didn't look like the real one. No matter what others said, she sat there quietly. She wore a long dress, her hair braided. Carefully she examined her painting, adding color stroke after stroke. The sounds of the fight happening not far away were very obvious, but she never once turned her head. In her eyes, there was only that snow mountain, that legendary, ethereal snow mountain in the distant, with white clouds floating around. It seemed like a dream, something to be contemplated over and over again. After the fight, the man looked at Chen Mingsheng, a somewhat curious look in his eyes. Chen Mingsheng, fully satisfied from the fight, turned his head and asked, "What are you staring at?" The man smiled a bit and said, "Kid, you're all right. What's your name?" That was the first time Bai Ji asked Chen Mingsheng his name, but Chen Mingsheng ignored him and just walked away. The two men drifted further apart. Snow Mountain, Snow Mountain. If the Snow Mountain could see, if destiny could be foreseen, if time could be rewound, if years could be replayed, could that passerby still come into your dream? And you, would you be willing to turn back?